Real Sociedad 0, Manchester United 1. Man United have won the game, but unfortunately, it wasn't the result that we needed, and we will have to play another qualifying or another playoff match just to get into the last 16. We needed to win by 2 goals, but even though we didn't get the result we needed, it was a good win. It was a good win away from home. It wasn't a pretty game. No, it wasn't a good game. For the neutral, perhaps you guys will be very, very bored, but there's a lot to get into. There's a lot to discuss here. Maguire coming on, playing up front for the last 10 minutes. We're going to talk about Garnacho's performance, the general performance of the team as a whole. Lindelof starting ahead of Maguire again. We're going to talk about the midfield. How well do you think Eriksen played today? Eriksen, Bruno, Donny, and Casemiro. There's a lot to discuss. There's a lot I want to get into today. If you're not... In general, it wasn't a good game. It wasn't, let's be honest. But before we get into it, as usual, guys, smash the like, turn on the notifications, and if you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe below. Let's have a little debrief, guys. It wasn't a pretty game. It wasn't a pretty game for the neutral, as I've just mentioned. It was a stop-start game. It wasn't fluid. Neither team had a hold of the game at all. But as usual, I like to start with the lineup, looking at the lineup, and of course, you guys give your opinion of the lineup. Who would you have picked? We're not criticizing the manager. The manager is the manager, whatever. But it's still good to give our opinion on the lineup. Some people are sick. Apparently, Sancho's sick, and Sancho's been ill. So Garnacho started again. Good. I like Garnacho. His performance last week, I think, earned him a spot today. And I think his performance today, maybe not in the second half. In the second half, he got tired and he trolled away. But in the first half, he had good moments, really good moments. So we're going to get into that later on. So Garnacho started. We had Rashford on the bench. We had Ronaldo up front. We had Bruno on the right. And we had Donny in the 10 with, of course, Eriksen and Casemiro. And Lindelof starting with Martinez at centre-back. Once again, Lindelof starting ahead of Maguire. What do you guys think about that? I think it's the right choice. I think when Maguire starts up front, when Maguire starts in defence, for me, he takes too long on the ball. He takes too many touches. He dilly-dallies and he slows the game down too much unnecessarily. As well as the fact that he's not very mobile and he's very slow. And Lindelof is not the quickest either. Let's be honest. He's not the quickest either. For someone as big as Maguire, he's also not as physical as I think he could be. Lindelof is definitely not the most physical, but one thing that Lindelof will give you, he's better than Maguire with the ball at his feet. He's better than Maguire with the ball at his feet. He is. He's better on the ball. So that's what he will give us more than Maguire does. But I think it's quite interesting, or at least quite telling, that Lindelof is starting ahead of Maguire generally. Maguire's not injured anymore. So yeah. So this lineup, I probably would have started Rashford personally, but I was happy to see what Donny could do. A lot of us United fans have been calling out for Donny to start, and he started today. So he's going to get given chances. As we can see, he is going to get given chances, and he has to start taking these chances. We're going to talk about his performance later on, but Donny started, and the game, nobody had a hold of the game, and that's quite normal. In the first 5 minutes, both teams are feeling each other out, but within the first 5 minutes, you can tell it wasn't going to be a pretty game. It wasn't going to be a game where you saw tiki-taka football and fluid movements and great patterns of play. It wasn't going to be that. It was going to be a bitty, stop-starty game. And you could tell that. I also noticed for the first 5-10 minutes that we weren't pressing, and I don't think we really pressed that much. And one thing I've noticed is that with Ronaldo starting up front. We press less. We stand off a little bit more. And I don't know if that's by design or if that's because Ronaldo doesn't press as much, or maybe he does, or Ten Hag says we should press less. Is it an instruction by the coach? Whatever it is, but we press less with Ronaldo. We do. I'm not saying we pay, so I've noticed that. And I don't think that's good. I think we need to, because we know in the modern game, a lot of goals are scored by counter pressing or by just pressing, by winning the ball back from a press. A lot of goals are scored that way. And we just need to press better. And we didn't really press throughout the game. There were parts of the game that we did, but for me, we stood off a bit too much. As I mentioned, in the first 5 minutes, we had no hold of the game. I remember Ronaldo trying to go down, looking for a penalty very earlier on in the game, around the 9th minute mark. And then, I think off the break, we got our goal, and it was a really, really good, well taken goal by Garnacho. Take a bow, son. Well done, lad. It was a really good move. And it was a really simple move. I think it was a Bruno flick onto Ronaldo, who controlled the ball, and the Ronaldo pass to Garnacho was perfect. And I do get onto Ronaldo. I do get onto him, but give credit where credit is due. That pass to Garnacho was just sublime. And that finish, he just took it into his stride. And the thing that impressed me about that Garnacho finish was that his first touch, I think if that was Rashford, his first touch would have been wayward. Maybe he took the ball into his stride, into his running pattern. He didn't need to break stride at all. He just kept running, and I think that's what made the goal look so good, and that's what made the goal easier. It was hard to do. It's hard to do that, but yeah, that first touch that he was so good, and then boom, roof of the net, great goal. Young guy, he's been given an opportunity and he has taken it. He was probably the biggest threat in the game, in the match. He faded in the second half, and we're going to talk about the second half, of course, later. But in the first half, every time Garnacho had the ball, it almost we felt like something could happen. The kid was a threat in the first half. He was. And he's lightning quick. He's lightning quick, and he's technically sound so far. From what I can see, he's technically sound and he's quick. I'm not going to get, and I think we shouldn't get ahead of ourselves. As fans, we're always going to be getting ahead of ourselves and saying, he's going to displace Rashford and he's going to displace Sancho and let him play every game. No, let's not do that when it comes to Garnacho. Let's understand what this kid is. He's a kid. His IQ is not there yet. He runs inside a lot. He runs into traffic a lot. He's young. He's got a lot to learn. So just let him learn. Let him continue to develop. Let's not start this crazy euphoria and build him up onto a pedestal or build him up into something that he's not, something that he can't live up to. So when he fails, we're like, oh my days, he's crap. And no, let's just watch him and just nurture this kid, man. Because I can already see everyone's like, oh my God, Garnacho is a second coming of Jesus. No, let's, let him play his ball. But good goal, Garnacho. Good goal. Take a bow. But like I said, it was a stop-start game. We started keeping possession a bit more later on in the second half. And after defender's mistake, Ronaldo's chip miss. Let's talk about that chip miss. And I think he might have been offside actually. But that is just what is going on with Ronaldo's finishing. Because we can talk about his physical ability deteriorating because he's getting older. He's not as quick. He's not as strong. He's getting muscled off the ball a lot, and he's getting bullied a lot by defenders that he wouldn't have got bullied by before. And we're seeing he's not that good with his back to goal. And once he drops deep, the only thing he does is just pass the ball back to where it came from and then run back. That's all he does. He doesn't really turn and face his opponent. So physically, you expect a deterioration, but his finishing is getting worse. So I'm thinking it's also a confidence issue with Ronaldo. And I can't remember a time. Maybe there has been. Of course, there's probably been loads of times. Come on, he's been playing football for a long time. Of course, he's had confidence issues before. But this guy doesn't look confident. This guy does not feel. He doesn't look confident as well as the fact that he's getting older and his ability is waning. But yeah, I don't understand why didn't he go around it. He could have gone around the keeper. He could have played it low. The chip wasn't hard. It wasn't difficult. And I thought to myself, that is a sign of a man that's just not, he's just not doing it. Ronaldo's just not doing it. But the first half ended with a double save from David De Gea. A double save from David De Gea. What a double save from this goalkeeper. Let's talk about David De Gea very quickly. Now, I was somebody who said David De Gea might not survive Ten Hag ball because of his distribution, right? He's not the best with the ball at his feet. We haven't really seen him distribute the ball efficiently. And when he's under pressure, he just hoofs it, usually. So, I said, listen, yes, he's a good shot stopper. He's always been a good shot stopper. But the modern keeper needs more than just that attribute to his arsenal. He needs to be able to play with the ball, literally. But we've seen an improvement with De Gea when it comes to that aspect. He does. And of course, the reason why he can is because we are playing better and we are giving him more options. And we're playing with more cohesion. But we are seeing a slight improvement to De Gea. We're seeing him pass the ball out a bit more. So once again, give credit where credit's due. Well done, De Gea. I see that improvement in your game. But what a great double save. His second save was with his head, like a little seal, this guy. But yeah, David De Gea, take a bow. Great double save. Kept us in the game. First half done. Second half, Real Sociedad actually started very, very, very quickly in the second half. And we were under pressure, fully under pressure. And I thought, you know what, we need to get the second goal because we might not even win this match. But who's there to doubt? Our defense? Our defense has been immense recently, so immense. And throughout the second half, the game opened up a lot more. It's interesting, the game opened up a lot more than it did in the first half, but we just didn't have that we didn't have that cutting edge, and we still couldn't keep the ball. We couldn't string more than like 8 passes together. It was quite weird to see. Donny came off, Lindelof came off, Rashford came on, Scott McTominay came on, and I thought, okay, cool. Rashford's come on to stretch the game. That's the thinking. He came on playing up front with Ronaldo, but to be fair, not much really changed. After they came on. It was the same thing. The game was open, but it was just so stop and starty. And that favoured the Real Sociedad. It didn't favour us at all. We just couldn't get into our rhythm. We couldn't get into any pattern of play in the second half. But as the second half wore on and gone on, I think 73rd, 74th minute, last 15 minutes, United started having more possession. We didn't do much with the possession, but at least we started having more of the ball. We were just slow. with the ball. We didn't do much with it. Just passed it around at the back, lacked penetration. We just needed a change. We really needed a change. Fred came on for Eriksen, which I think is a good change. Eriksen, Eriksen hasn't played that well for the last 2 or 3 games. He had some good passes. He made some really good passes today. But in the first half, he wasn't present. I didn't notice him in the first half, and I didn't notice Donny either in the first half. And this was Donny's time to shine, and you can't judge a person over one game. You can't do that. That's not fair. He needs to keep playing. He needs to build up a pattern. Everyone needs to build up cohesion and confidence. Everybody. But I didn't notice them in the first half that much. I didn't really. And it's not really their fault. I'm not saying it's their fault. It's just that those are players that are better on the ball than off the ball. You know, Casemiro is good off the ball. You know, he's good at tracking his runners. He's a good tackler. He's physical. He's good off the ball. You'll notice him when we don't have the ball because he's a good defender. But when we don't have the ball, you don't notice people like Donny and Eriksen. When we do have the ball and when we monopolize possession more, of course, you notice them. And like I said, they just didn't really, for me, get into the game. In the second half, perhaps a little bit more. But in the first half, not for me. So Eriksen came off for Fred. Interesting, and this is when it got interesting. Maguire came on for Garnacho. And I thought, okay, Ten Hag is going for it. When's the last time a manager, any manager, put on a defender, up front? So for the last 9 minutes, Maguire played up front. Maguire played up front for Man United. It didn't work, of course. The game ended 1-0. But it was good to see the manager do that. As basic as it is, because we've seen it happen, of course. We've seen it, it's been done many times, of course. But you don't really see it in a modern game. So to see our manager just pull out an old school play was quite refreshing to see, to be honest. So, yeah, he tried, played Maguire up front, tried to win some headers. Didn't really work. We didn't really put any... That was quite frustrating, actually, that we didn't actually utilise that. We didn't get enough balls in the box. Even the last few minutes when we had the corner, we could have sent the corner into the box. No, we played it short. And even after playing it short, we still didn't put the ball into the box. We just wasted the opportunity. But it is what it is. Ten Hag went for it, played Maguire up front. Didn't work, but we won the game. I guess that's one thing to take from it. We actually won the game. We beat Real Sociedad at their ground, away from home. But we will have to play another game to get into the last 16. That's not good. That's not good. And I'm pretty sure the players don't need another game added to their already congested season. So who that opponent is or will be, we'll find out soon, of course. Who was my man of the match? I'm going to give it to Dalot again. I like Dalot's performance. I am enjoying Dalot's football right now. The football that Dalot is playing right now. He made a mistake or two, and I was going to give it to Garnacho. I was really tempted to because he had a good first half, but he faded in the second half. I didn't notice him at all in the second half. So, I think I'll give it to Dalot. I'm really enjoying Dalot's performances. Martinez played well. So did Casemiro. But yeah. Dalot, Diego, who was your man of the match? Comment below. Let me know what you thought of the game. Do you agree or disagree with what I said? Yeah. Let me know. Share, like, subscribe. Peace. I'm out. If you're not